Hello, this is Roland. Today I'm going to begin reading at the very beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. When Jesus saw the crowds, he ascended the mount, and when he was seated, his disciples drew near to him. He began speaking and teaching them, and said, "A heavenly attitude is theirs. Those whose home is in Ruka. Ruka is the Aramaic word for spirit. Theirs is a heavenly state." A heavenly attitude and a heavenly state. Let's look up the word, let's see what this turvehun is. Yes, a heavenly attitude is based on the Aramaic word tuv, tuv, which means in English a neural structure within the mind which is of heavenly dignity and function. A neural structure designed by the Creator for all human minds, which makes available thoughts and actions in conformity with the will of a loving God for increased happiness and well-being. You see, we humans were designed for, we were originally intended to be ever in God's presence. Adam was supposed to be ever in God's presence and to be on a wonderful journey of adventure in God's universe. And ever in awe, ever wondering about, admiring, amazed by, the goodness and the greatness of the Creator. And being close to God is being close to the Father. See, you can imagine a little child and with a good father, and when Father is home, then the world is, everything is good. Okay, Father is home, and the little child can just sit on the floor and play, as children will, near Father, and knowing that Father is there. It's a wonderful state, isn't it? A little child who's happy and full of joy near the Father. See, it's very beautiful. Well, that's the way we humans were designed to be. Okay? And that's what we're supposed to find again. Okay? We're supposed to find that again. And so what's happened to people? What's happened to you? You lost your dignity. You lost your peace of mind. You lost your confidence. You lost your love. You lost your sense of awe and wonder. All of those you lost. Okay? Now, why did you lose them? Okay? A lot of people pretend to have them, but they really don't. You lost them, and then they substitute emotions. They substitute excitement and partying and drinking and laughing and comedians and eating and very pale substitutes for the real thing. So how did you lose your dignity, your confidence? What else did they say? Yes, dignity. So that your thoughts and actions are in conformity with the will of a loving God. See, if your thoughts and actions were in conformity with the will of a loving God, then you wouldn't have conflict. Conflict would cease. See, your conflict now, the real conflict is with your conscience. What you know in your heart is right, which is God's light is still calling you. See, He hasn't abandoned you. He's still calling you. Okay? He's calling you. But the question, again, I ask, how did you lose your dignity, your confidence, your grace, your genius, your brightness? See? You had some of that, a little bit of it, once upon a time when you were a little child, didn't you? You lost it, your sense of awe and wonder, and your love. You lost it. So how did that happen? Well, Probably, see, we're born into a fallen state, but then you add your own sins. But the sins that you add are very predictable. See, resentment, resenting your parents, for example, resenting other kids, resenting other people, hating people. See, you can't love and hate at the same time. They're incompatible, like oil and water. So when you hate, when you resent, see, when you judge, then you can't have love. If you don't have love, you won't experience love. If the love is not in you for others, then you won't experience it yourself. It won't flow through you. See? And so what you did was you doubted yourself. That's another way in which you fell away from what you once had. You doubted yourself. You knew what was right in your heart when you were a little kid, but other people made you doubt it, and they pressured you. For example, just every culture has some kind of weird practices. See, culture separates us from the universal humanity. See, we're all humans. Doesn't matter where we're from, whether we're from Iceland or England or Ireland or France or Spain or Sudan, South Africa, Fiji, see, Taiwan, Korea, India, Pakistan, Kuwait, New Zealand. Doesn't matter where you're from. We're all humans. But cultures separate us, don't they? Cultures separate. And every culture has goofy practices. So maybe when you were a little child, they forced you to eat some weird thing that they cooked up. Some weird concoction. You didn't want to eat it. They forced you to. See? And you see how that can be a trauma, to being forced to eat something weird? And they won't let you see it as weird. They tell you it's good and it's natural and it's wonderful and that's just the way it's supposed to be. So before long you begin to doubt. See? You see people, you see your aunt, maybe your aunt is mean, very mean. When nobody's looking, she's real witchy. You try to tell your mom, hey, aunt was, while you were gone, my aunt was mean. No, she wasn't. Your aunt is a nice person. Don't say that about your aunt. See, they won't let you see what you see. When you're a little kid, they won't let you see what you see. Well, some people hang on to what they see. They just keep seeing it. They see what they see and they don't doubt it. You know, like Albert Einstein. He saw what he saw. He discovered what he discovered, and even though they tried, his ideas weren't quickly accepted. People scoffed and they didn't, but he was untouchable. He wouldn't see. So that's the way it has to be. You know what's right in your heart, and that's what you do. And if you know that something is not right, then you don't do it. But there's a funny thing about falling. When you fall, to hate or to resent or to go along with something that's not right, then it's a trauma. See, you're separated. Doubting yourself separates you. Resenting separates you. And then doing the thing. See, doing it also separates you. See how that separates you? When you see, because you're reaching away from what you know in your heart. So all of those separate you from the good within. So now, can you see that if you had not doubted, if you had not hated and resented, and if you hadn't doubted and resented and then did something wrong, wrong things, including hating other people and so on, then you would have kept that heavenly estate that you touched, that you sensed had a little bit of when you were a little child. And then upon reaching maturity, upon becoming an adult, then it's time to choose. See, then you would be free to choose to do right. See, because you hadn't been traumatized, you hadn't been turned, changed, transmogrified. You were still innocent. Then it would be very easy to see the good, and especially if you had a good father. That makes it really easy. But Most of us don't have a good father. We had a father that was decent, but he failed us in some way. He didn't have it himself. He hadn't found it. But if he had found it, and you saw it in him, if you saw it in him, then you would know that it exists. You wouldn't doubt it. And loving and respecting the good in him, it would be very easy for you then, when you're an adult and can make your own decision about such things, to then willingly choose, see, that way, to choose the good. That would have been very easy. But what happened was your father failed you. You didn't set a good example. Maybe you didn't see that light in people because they didn't have it. You doubted yourself. You resented. Then you went the way of the world. So you threw doubt and resentment, cut you off from your own inner ground. And then you went the way of the world. And then you were corrupted and degraded. See? So you began to rush excitedly and ambitiously or resentfully after the tinsel things that they held out for you. Knowledge and study and ambition. And, see? But those never satisfied. So, you need to come back to what Christ says, to be in the Spirit. In other words, you need to come back and find the presence of God. Now, what's blocking you from that now? Why couldn't you just find it? Well, first of all, you have to admit that you've fallen and lost something, and then you tried to find it in the world, and the world can't give it to you because it doesn't have it. Secondly, you have to admit that you've been stubborn, that you didn't want to admit you were wrong. See? So pride then blocked you. Pride blocked you from coming back. You didn't want to admit you're wrong. You didn't want to say, I'm sorry. And then just humbly see the mess that you made and not try to fix it and not blame anyone and not resent seeing it, but just bear seeing the truth about yourself. You didn't want to do that. Until you're willing to do that, then you remain trapped. You're like a man who defects, who's a traitor to his country and goes over to the enemy. Then he's in the enemy's land. Now he's subject to the enemy. And he wants to come back. Well, he wants to come back to his homeland, the one he betrayed. Well, it's not that easy. See, you have to petition. You have to petition and hope that they'll take you back. So you have to petition God. You have to cry out and hope that he'll take you back. See? Otherwise you remain trapped. Well, so if you can, so what's blocking you now? For I said pride. See? And the other thing is the spirit of the world gets in you. If there's a good spirit, there's also a bad spirit. See, you can't taste, touch, or smell evil, but it exists. See? You'll see it in people, even in someone in your own family. See? So it exists. And what it does is it slowly insinuates itself into people when they hate, when they resent, see, and take drugs and things like that, or they're ambitious. See, it's into them. And then inside of them, it then teaches them to be defensive against the light. So you have something in you that somehow says, no, you don't want to start meditating. No, Roland doesn't know what he's talking about. No, you're not ready yet. No, you don't have to do that. No, you don't have to be sorry. You don't have anything to be sorry for. The world was rotten and you couldn't help it. And it's their fault anyway, somebody else's fault. And you're not quite ready and it's not time yet. And if you try the meditation, then something terrible will happen. See, it'll try all kinds of tricks. Talks to you in your mind. Well, it's been leading you all along. See? When you defected from the good king, then you were led by something else. It talks to you through other people and through a voice in your mind which you think is you. You think it's you that's been leading you. See, it's like a false conscience. It leads you to all the wrong people, the wrong ideas, doing the wrong things. See? And it doesn't like the truth, shies away from truth. It doesn't want you First of all, it doesn't want you to see that it exists and that it's in you and that it's been misleading you. It doesn't want that. And secondly, it doesn't want you to admit you're wrong and be sorry. It tells you that shame is a terrible thing. Admitting you're wrong is a terrible thing. But I say shame is sweet. I say admitting that you're wrong is sweet. It reconciles you to the Father. See? So it's been misleading you all along. You thought it was your own self, thought it was your own ideas. It's been misleading you. It masquerades as a friend. See, or it dresses itself up in images of naughty people in your mind. And see, it's always up to something. So that's what's been blocking you. And then the other thing is that when you fell away from reality, from truth and good and so on, then what happened was that you fell into your mind. That's where you hid, hiding in your thinking, in your imagination, in the past, in the constructs of the past and the future, lost down there. See, you were lost down there to try to come up with some answer to the messes that you made. And B, when the answer you came up with led you into an even bigger mess, then you just hid down there because you didn't want to see the reality, the mess you had made, and realize, see, your own helplessness, your own wrongness, your own falseness in the light of reality. So you hid in your imagination with the help of drugs and the help of alcohol and the help of music and video games and, things like that, see. So you hid down there and you entertained yourself with video games and music and smoked marijuana and drank and tried to convince yourself that you were just wonderful just the way you are. So that blocked you, see, being lost in your mind. Now, what my meditation can help with, is it can help a person to stand back from thoughts. Instead of being lost in the thought, submerged in the thought, to stand back and observe the thought and emotions. And if you stand back and you are amenable to the light, in other words, you're not trying to run from the light or duck the light, you're willing to see the truth. In fact, you want to know the truth. Then in the light, you'll be able to see, okay, the way things really are. You'll see the thoughts for what they are, empty, useless thoughts. And you'll see yourself, okay, but this time not resenting what you see, because you know it's the truth, and you know you're seeing it in God's light. Okay? So it'll help you with that. But only if you have the attitude of wanting to. See, being willing to see your own wrong and admit you're wrong. See, but remember, the it inside, see, the spirit of the world, evil, whatever you want to call it, false conscience, it's been misleading you all these years. It doesn't want you to admit you're wrong. See, it doesn't want you to meditate either. So you just have to see that there are forces that are opposed, but you have to continue and realize that God is greater. Everything is subject to God. And if your intent is pure, see, then He will hold those things in abeyance, see, and He will hold you safe and give you the space in which to recover, to see your own wrongs a little every day, not all at once, and be sorry for them and realize where you went wrong and start to live properly and become free, progressively freer. See? And then when you are aligned with the good King, and you begin to grow as a child of God, then you regain your lost dignity and your confidence and your love and your peace of mind. Okay? And all the wonderful things. Okay? My name is Roland.